Panther Beer, what up? I'm sweating. I'm sweating right now. Mr. October, me. This is me. I'm hoping for better days in October, but I think we're staring down 0-6 right now before the bye. On to watch Panthers post to Phil Perkins. Thanks for joining. I don't even remember the score. I feel like when you have trauma where your mind subconsciously blocks it out of your brain so you don't feel that pain again. If you have children, ask your wives. They'll tell you about it or not because they probably forgot about it. But Panthers lost at home again, winless at home, winless on the season. They're 0-4. The last time they went 0-4, that was a Jimmy Clausen year that led to Cam Newton. Let's not go there. They looked. Honestly, there were times where I was telling myself, I am never buying another Carolina Panthers piece of merch again. I was actually kind of happy that I missed out on every single 47 brand latest drop on their hats, even though they're so nice. I was like, I'm not giving any more money to this team because I give them so much of my time and my emotions for a very long time. And there was something about this game that made me feel so sad. It felt like we were cheated. We had we had a brand new owner, the richest owner at the time in the NFL. He gives us a head coach in Matt Rule. Do I need to explain who he is? No, because now Nebraska fans understand who he is. And I thought, okay, now we're going to get professionals in the building, in Frank Reich, and all these head coaches, possible head coaches, every single one of them on the new article from Sports Illustrated saying that these are all budding head coaches right now. Budding head coaches, budding offensive coordinators, Thomas Brown, Jared Evero, all these guys. 300 years experience. Jim Caldwell's there. Deuce Staley, he's bringing that muscle. He's bringing that energy. And so I thought, hey, you know what? We got professionals in the building right now. And honestly, the ineptitude on offense reminded me of Matt Rule. All of it. All of it. The dying 35 seconds is a long time with 2 timeouts to end the half. Knowing you're going to get the ball back, you can pile on some points, at least a field goal. And I'm literally watching the clock ticking down. I'm like, what is going on? Is there a communication problem? Why is there no timeouts being called right now? Why are these the plays that we're trying to get? Just go for the end zone. Go for the end zone, for gosh sakes. You're not starting at your own 10. You're within field goal range. You have guys who could at least somewhat get open and body and maybe get lucky. That. Bryce Young getting a delay game penalty at home, even though I know Viking fans were there, makes no sense. Frank Reich later saying, probably shouldn't have said this. I know he's being honest. I know he is a very honest person, and he is a stand-up human being. I would love for him to be my father-in-law. But for him to tell the media that they had to call timeout, burn a timeout, because he called a play that is directly made for Adam Thielen. Like this was Madden. Like, there's when you click Madden, that I want this guy to be the star of the play. He's the star of the play. Our star player on that play was Adam Thielen. 32-year-old Adam Thielen was the star of that play. He called that. Fine. The only thing is, Adam Thielen wasn't on the field. He didn't know that. Nobody told him that Adam Thielen wasn't on the field, so he had to call timeout because nobody else. And shout out to Panther culture for saying it pointedly to the point that every single Carolina Panther fan could completely understand this point. So you're telling me that because Adam Thielen, 32-year-old Adam Thielen, probably in his last contract in the NFL, probably runs a 4.7, and that's being nice. He wasn't there, so no other wide receiver. No Terrace Marshall. I know Jonathan Mingo wasn't playing, but Terrace Marshall, DJ Chark, the speedster, Laviska Shenault. None of these guys could have called that play, so you had to call timeout. He then says in all caps, hard reset. Because that right there is what you replay to Frank Reich tomorrow morning when he comes to your office and be like, you're not calling plays anymore. But anyways, that was a Matt Ruleism right there. The lack of timeout, the use of the timeout, the reason for why you're using the timeout, and also the amount of gosh darn screenplays. Frank Reich he makes Ron Rivera look exciting. He makes Ron Rivera look like he's a guy on MDMA. Frank Reich is so monotone, and his offense is so monotone. The carryover from the preseason, how boring our offense was, and them saying that, it's good that you don't know what we're doing because how boring how vanilla we're keeping it in the preseason. Oh, just wait. So I thought, just wait. We got Jim Caldwell, we got Thomas Brown, we got Josh McCown, we got all these guys calling plays and making up all these cool, fun plays with this fun quarterback and Bryce Young. But then instead we just get, run up the middle in a cloud of dust. That's what we get. And I just feel cheated. I feel lied to right now. Whether say what you want about Skip Bayless, he's even saying he's keeping all the receipts for everybody who's saying that Bryce Young was not as good as C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is the pick. He was the guy. Bryce Young is a mistake. He's a bust because he said Carolina has the worst surrounding cast right now for any of these rookie quarterbacks right now. And people have been saying that. The analysts have been saying that. I remember we mentioned this in episodes in the past. Before the preseason, hey, Carolina Panthers, dark horse to win the NFC South, to go to the NFC Championship game, some crazy stuff like that. But then preseason started, and everyone's like, oh, now they're seeing this in the flesh. This is not a good surrounding system for the quarterback. Sure, they have great coaches, but you still need guys to play on the field. We kind of didn't want to believe that. I agree. I was that guy as well. I thought, Adam Thielen could move the chains. I thought DJ Chark will continuously get great separation. I thought Hayden Hurst will consistently be a chain mover. I thought Miles Sanders would be a great pickup as well. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. And we got guys like Dane Parsons, who's a friend of the show, been on the show before, saying that, you got Bryce Young is a distributor. He's a playmaker. He said that on this show. But the difference is you got the point guard at quarterback, but you don't have any shooters. You got no shooters on this team. Frank Reich is failing this team. He's making this team unwatchable right now in terms of offense. Not just his mistakes, but also the play calling itself is so boring. And I can't deal with that anymore. And that's my rant about Frank Reich. And it's not out of the ordinary to expect him to pass down duties of offensive play calling to Thomas Brown, who comes from the LA Rams system. And because it's been written. It's been written. He said it out loud that at Sports Illustrated during the offseason, before training camp started, they're saying that eventually he is going to be handing down play calling duties to Thomas Brown. Will it be before next week against Detroit? I sure hope so, because while Frank Reich is calling this boring ass game, we're going to be watching him going up against Brad Johnson, who the Carolina Panthers interviewed for the head coaching position. He then vacated that to go back to Detroit, and now Detroit is who Detroit is right now. That was a good decision on his part. But to compare their offense with our offense back to back, looking right in your face, that's going to be truly embarrassing. So I think nothing would be a greater time to have two offensive-minded guys, like young offensive-minded guys, in Brad Johnson facing off against Thomas Brown against each other. I think that would be great. And then he takes on the Dolphins after that. We'll see what happens. Again, taking on a team that's super fun to watch offensively against Frank Reich and his vanilla stuff. It's so vanilla. And then, have that duel between Thomas Brown and Mike McDaniels, and then you get the bye and then kind of figure things out a little bit. I believe in Bryce. I think he's got a great head on his shoulders. I've never seen this guy so unhappy in my life. You're definitely not in Alabama anymore. You're not the best team on the field anymore. He's going to learn. But I think he's got great poise. They mentioned it during after the game that he was still in his pads. I thought he was going to cry at this point when David Newton said, "Everyone's gone home. You're still in your pads. What the hell is going on?" This guy's facing adversity for the first time in 22 years of life. He went to Mater Dei. They're a powerhouse school in Los Angeles. He went to USC, powerhouse. Now he's with the Carolina Panthers, and you're not a powerhouse. You're at the bottom of the house. In fact, the Bears and the Panthers are picking 1 and 2 in the draft. The only thing is the Bears have the Panthers picked, so the Bears right now are picking 1 and 2 in the draft, but it's early-ish. But we still love Bryce. We still love Bryce. I think once he does get the weapons, as Dane Parsons says, the shooters, I think he's going to be able to deal. We're going to see those things happen. And yes, it does absolutely hurt our confidence because CJ Stroud is killing it right now. Shout out to him with the Houston Texans. Anthony Richardson is using his body. He's in a great situation with Shane Steichen there with the Indianapolis Colts. We thought the Panthers were there too. They're not. Offensively, they're just not. They're just not. Okay? So, Bryce, we're still with you. We're still with you. The defense, Joe Evero, there's calls out there for him to be the head coach and Thomas Brown to maintain the role as offensive coordinator. Frank Reich to be demoted to a consultant of anything, kind of like the Jim Caldwell role right now, because Joe Evero could be the hottest name right now in Charlotte when it comes to losing coaching talent to be a head coach because of what he's doing with a defense that has no Shaq Thompson, a beat down Dante Jackson. J.C. Horn is out. Xavier Woods is out. C.J. Henderson is beat up. Who am I missing? Anyone else? Brian Burns was not that much of a factor today. I don't know why. I haven't seen the entire film yet. I don't know if they were just scheming things away from him. But a Joe Evero, if you not want to lose him and you want to keep him as the brainchild of the Carolina Panthers and keep him here as the identity of the team, you could have Frank Reich be a consultant. He already looks like a consultant. Honestly, he looks like a consultant at some Fortune 500 company. Make him a consultant. Joe Evero is the head coach. Thomas Brown, promoted to offensive coordinator and offensive play caller. And then you have Josh McCown as continues being quarterback coach. I think that would make everybody happy and keep everyone in the building, because if you lose him, who's the defensive guy that's going to be managing this defense right now? I don't know. I think that move could happen, and it does feel like that is something written in stars. Anyways, I believe in Bryce. I think Thomas Brown believes in Bryce. He is part of the Panthers cognoscenti that decided that he was the guy ahead of CJ, ahead of Anthony Richardson. Just, I believe in him, and I want to see those two guys cook together and make things up and work together during the game. I think there's something about Frank Reich, maybe I feel like such an ageist, but Frank Reich and Bryce, there's just such an age gap. It seems like a father-son thing, but when I feel like with Thomas Brown and Bryce, it's like two friends or an older brother, younger brother, and he could be himself a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I feel like the comfort level will be a little bit better, and I think it will translate on the field. That's just as a non-X's and O's guy. That's just what I'm thinking, but get him some players. And so this comes as Ian Rappaport reported today that despite the fact that the Panthers are 0-3, they still want to build, meaning they're looking to trade players because they don't have assets, really. They have a second-round pick. That's like their best pick next year, and like one of each. They're going to trade. They want to trade assets for number one wide receiver. They're also have to looking at safety. Because right now we're losing Xavier Rhodes and I think Jeremy Chin as well. And yeah, and some line help as well, because Austin Corbett's still out. Brady Christian, as we know, is out for the year. So who do you want the Panthers to pick up this year? Do you think that's even a good move right now? Do you think this team is, obviously things are salvageable. It's still a long season. This goes all the way until January. Could the Panthers be more respectable, kind of like the way they were last year with Wilkes? Just to get the fan base in it again. Like, and who would you trade? Honestly, the Twitter sphere is already saying the fact that they haven't signed Brian Burns to a long-term contract makes him a prime candidate for somebody that you can trade for top picks and a player. Maybe another second-round pick that you can group together, get into the first round next year, and a wide receiver. Whether it's, we got to see how the other teams go. Like, Justin Jefferson's not going anywhere. Sorry, I put a YouTube short about that. That's never going to happen. Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, maybe, frustration's kind of building in Cincinnati a little bit. They haven't signed him to a long-term deal. They could pay him kind of nicely in Carolina. They can then use the draft picks for another O-line help or, another defensive lineman if they lose Brian Burns. I could see that happening as well. Or would you just want them to trade someone like a Brian Burns for first-round picks to accumulate more first-round talent in this year's draft, whether it's a wide receiver, a true, first round grade pass catching tight end, or another defensive end because you're losing Brian Burns, defensive tackle, linebacker, something, another corner, to pair with. I don't know who's going to be our corner next year, honestly. I can see Brian Burns getting traded. I can see Yetur Gross-Matos, who's been balling out of control, being traded because his stock is going up. I could see Jeremy Chin getting traded as well to maybe a defensive-minded coach who might think, hey, I could use this guy in certain ways. He's not being used in Carolina. But I could totally see that happening. The trade deadline is Halloween. I could see any three of those players going. It's not because I don't like them. I just think that their progression and their pay scale doesn't jive with where the Panthers are really at right now, especially Brian Burns. Not so much Yetur Gross-Matos. Yetur Gross-Matos could be a guy that you keep and maintain to build around, and then you continue to draft around him. They did draft DJ Johnson. Don't get me started on him, not even playing. But yeah, that's the call right now. I don't know. I don't know if a veteran right now is the point. I think that's a desperation move. Panthers not making the playoffs. So why would somebody like a T. Higgins or Devontae Adams want to come here? Not that he is a choice because it's a trade, but it doesn't make any sense. Or you just, at least if anything, if you get better, you deny the Bears 2 top 5 picks in the draft. I don't know. Do you trust Scott Fitterer? If they fire Scott Fitterer, then you got a head coach and a new GM come in and then Frank Reich might not be his guy. If Thomas Brown is his guy, sure, that works out. But then there's that whole situation that we keep finding ourselves in. We get the head coach who then chooses the GM, where it really should be the GM who chooses the head coach, which we did have here, and Scott Fitterer choosing Frank Reich. So you got that non-power struggle there. And for people who think that we have the worst future right now in the NFL, we don't have a first-round pick next year. Good thing about years is they keep coming. So you'll get another first-round pick. It will be fine. The New York Jets, who are playing right now, literally chose Zach Wilson, second overall in the draft. They knew they fumbled the bag. They moved on. They got Aaron Rodgers. Crazier things have happened in the NFL. So let's all relax here. Am I sad? Yes, I'm sad. That's what this is for. This is therapy. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to like, subscribe, spread the word. Hopefully I'm going to get some NFL analysts to help us fix the Panthers. See you guys.